Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Guns of Navarone RMP, who actually contributed to my GoFundMe campaign under an anonymous tag by mistake. So massive shout out to you for both being a Patreon and for supporting my treating my YouTube studio GoFundMe. So massive shout out again to Guns of Navarone RMP. Also, Troy Shuka, Bose Nail, Justin Duso, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Last Cut FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Also a massive thank you again to everyone who has supported me on the GoFundMe campaign. If you did want to support this campaign, just click on the donate button and set the tip amount to $0 so you're not contributing necessarily to GoFundMe, unless of course you absolutely want to, but I would suggest setting the tip amount to $0 and then all funds go to the campaign itself. So I'll do a quick shout out to everyone who has supported it, including Alexander D, who smashed the GoFundMe campaign last night, Kevin Polanski, Jeff Cena, Jesse Barbe, is it Barabe? I should get that right, Jesse Barabe, my bad. The anonymous donator, which was Guns of Navarone, Hannah Koala, Chris Barry, Rob Hunston, Jamal Hicks and Abraham Mohammed. So another massive shout out to all of you for supporting my GoFundMe campaign, which is getting ever closer to reaching its £500 target. Obviously I'd like to go over that so I can do more treatment, but that's obviously what I'd like to achieve in the first instance. I've asked my wife to put in an order today, hooray! So I will make a video about the two pieces of equipment that, the two panels that I've ordered. They're just square boxes, but I'll tell you all about them in a video that I'll make shortly. So massive thanks again to all of you for supporting me in my GoFundMe campaign. I will put a link underneath this video in the info box and in the live stream chat. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Very well, how are you?
Oh, didn't get much sleep last night, but well.
Hey Neil.
Yeah.
Hey Neil.
Hey Neil.
Sorry, I'm mute, but that's no bad thing. Not because I don't want him to talk, but because he won't make background noise. Hey Paul.
Yeah. Hey Paul.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we hear you.
All right, I'm
hear
on
us?
mute because I'm on a construction site.
Okay.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know.
That's when I was just setting it up, guys. Give me at least 10 seconds.
I love you, man.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Not bad.
Everybody good?
Oh yeah.
Praise the Lord. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
You got it.
No worries.
Morning,
What
Nathan.
show numbers today? What
Morning,
show
was
numbers today, Nathan?
13:02. Morning, was that Darren?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, apologies for yesterday. For some reason, I was locked out and couldn't contribute when you had that email.
What email? I can't even remember what happened 10 minutes ago, mate.
You agreed to loan me £1,000, remember?
Did I? Oh my God, that would definitely be something I would remember, though.
No, thanks for your response to that email, though.
Oh, did I respond to an email? I lose track. There get so many emails. I'm really sorry if one was responding to you. In the moment, I did think about it. I've just forgotten about it immediately after. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Maybe fill this in. What was the email about?
Would there be an angle difference between my location and somewhere 100 miles away?
Ah, yes. Now I do remember. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that got a fair old focus on the show, right?
Yeah, it did. I'm still a bit unsure about it, though, really.
Okay. Both geodesic globe, if you like, surveyors and flat Earth surveyors will both assess that land with zero meaning zero. Now, the only difference between somebody who's actually just surveying it and building something, i.e. give no consideration to the globe, and someone who does, is that before they make that measurement, they'll say that the zero that you've measured isn't pointing straight up. It is, in fact, if you're in England, pointing out at a, 45-degree angle off a globe? Well, that's what they presuppose before they do any measurements. But when they move position, this is something I didn't put in the email. So then, in your example, you then say, well, what if I go, 100 miles away and do the same thing? Well, they'd just start the process with the assumption that that zero at the new location is also pointing at a slightly different angle to a spherical centre. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. The thing is, that little box that you had the picture of, when you set it to zero at my location, when you turn the power off and then back on again, it still remembers its last position. So my thought was, if that was put up against a building, then it would show a difference.
Yeah, but they'd just come up with some ad hoc excuse. They'd say gravity pulled it into alignment. You know, it's relative to your position and the machine is taking that into account, is what they would say. But it isn't how they would expect it to be anyway, because their process starts with the assumption, then moves on to the measurements. For that very reason, because you're always going to get zero being zero. When you're standing upright 90 degrees to the surface you're standing on, you're pointing 90 degrees to the surface you're standing on. And nothing's going to change that unless it was actually curving. And it isn't. So they have to presuppose it's curving before they take the measurement of the flat land we're actually standing on.
Yeah, I saw what I mean. Did you see that there was 2 photos in the email?
No, I just got one that showed you with the measurement up against a wall being referenced to zero. That was all I saw.
Yeah, underneath it, there's another photo. That photo had I don't know, a certain degree of angle to it.
I see. But say it's one of those that I could go into detail about how you would argue with it at trench level with their ad hoc excuse for why zero is zero at both locations, which it will be. The answer to the why is it zero at both locations, why isn't one building tilting away as it curves away from you on a sphere, is because we're not on a sphere. It is actually flat, and therefore both buildings will measure zero. But their excuse will be, no, as I look at my geodetic reference datum, it says that this starting point that you've got as zero is actually pointing at this angle towards the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. And from there, we'll measure it all flat, yeah, because that's just how we do it with our Cartesian coordinates. It doesn't mean it's not a sphere, because we've assumed it's a sphere before we did any measuring of it being flat.
Yeah, I understand now. Yeah, I see where you're going now.
Called a tangent plane. Tangent being you at the starting point drawing a line out to the horizon, and that being your drop measurement, giving you your R if you're Al-Biruni, also the presupposition that you're standing on a spherical surface when you take your datum. Why? Well, because you've got a zenith pointing to the centre of a presupposed Earth that's spherical in their datum. So their datum says this point isn't pointing straight up. It's actually pointing out at an angle. It's only straight up relative to you. It just seems that way because of gravity.
Yeah, I got it now. Thank you.
My pleasure. Credit to Bev and Brian. I wouldn't know any of this stuff if it wasn't for them.
Well, soon you'll be knowing more.
Oh yeah, why's that?
my next video that I'm going to put out.
Is it on geodetic surveying?
It's on the sextant.
On the sextant? Okay, so you're talking about dip angle measurements to the horizon then. Well, same vein.
Well, yeah, but much more than that. I'll put a lot of time into it, so we'll see how it presents itself when I present it.
I bet it'd be epic because you've been looking at it for 12 months straight, right?
Yeah, I've been, well, first of all, it's not my forte, so then I had to learn it. I haven't bought one yet, but it's like, why would you buy one unless you get a boat? So I got to buy the boat first. Then it's like, all right, well, how does it work? And it's like golden nuggets are flying at me.
Excellent.
I can't wait.
Excellent. The other thing is, why would you buy one until you knew how to use it? It's like, not that this is intentionally a segue to plug my GoFundMe, but before I started treating the room, I did lots and lots and lots of research on what did what, and then I bought a little bit of it. Now it's obviously not the case that you can buy a little bit of a sextant. Well, maybe you can.
Well, you can. It's just a glorified protractor, so you can start with a flash.
Right. But my point is that you'd want to know how to use it before you actually acquire the tool, and as it's so easy to learn about this stuff, given the internet access that we get these days, why not?
Exactly. I mean, that's the beauty of the internet. You can go research any topic out there, and you've got professionals living all over the world teaching it to you.
Yeah, I'm sure I mentioned this before, but that was what amazed me about the information acquirable on YouTube about acoustic treatment. Yes, lots of it's nonsense, but it's pretty clear from the people who are actually dealing with studios at a very high end, a very high level. Hollywood studios is a good example. If you're treating Hollywood studios, as far as I'm concerned, you're reputable. But those very same people are putting all their knowledge out online for free. Just amazing.
Yeah. Subject matter experts just handing it to you.
Though, no, Nathan, come on now, that anything you learn on YouTube is not valid because you learn it on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Well,
it's not valid.
Well, that Danny Faulkner says flat earthers, all they do is get something from YouTube, and then he did it.
Well, he said all they do is a Google search, and then he proceeded to do a Google search on how you can have gas pressure without a container, and the top result was Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, with his demonstration of gas pressure without a container with 2 containers.
But that's the best he could do, because you can't have gas pressure without a container.
No, and if he was even the slightest bit competent, he'd realise it's absolutely asserted and correct when you say you can't have gas pressure without a container. That's just how it is.
But he was desperate, Nathan.
Yeah, desperate to prove Nathan Thompson wrong.
Yeah, he got desperate. He did the very thing he accused us of doing in the bad way. Not that it is. But, I mean, YouTube, I fix mechanical things and outboard motors and all kinds of stuff watching YouTube. So, number one, he gave a slide on YouTube videos, like all of them are bad. That's wrong, number one. Number two, he's on YouTube. Number three, he went to YouTube to find gas pressure without a container. He can't find one except Hillbilly Blue Balls. And what did Hillbilly Blue Balls do? Show gas pressure with a container.
Right.
And Nathan, didn't you watch an MIT professor talking about gas pressure on YouTube?
Yes, that was. I watched more than a little bit of it. I watched endless hours and hours and hours of it until about lecture number 10 or lecture number 11, when he finally actually went through that with a blackboard demonstration about how gas pressure expanding into a vacuum works, i.e. the second law of thermodynamics. But yeah, that took a long time of researching MIT lectures. Now, the same applies though, Paul. Does it mean that because it's an MIT lecture, it's immediately valid? No. You can't just take everything at face value because it's come from a credible source. Obviously, we're dealing with credible sources all the time when we deal with people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a credible astrophysicist. Does it mean that it's just so stories without scientific empiricism are true? No. You just have to assess everything on its merits. YouTube's no different.
I know. I just wanted to. I guess you understand. I was just bringing up the fact that people say, "Well, you just learned something on YouTube."
Well, let's start real basic. Let's say you were looking up a math channel on YouTube, and it was just simple addition. And they said 2 plus
Paul,
2
can you
equals
mute?
4.
Paul.
Oh, sorry.
So let's say you're on the math channel and you see someone saying 2 plus 2 equals 4. You go to another math channel and they say 2 plus 2 equals 4. And you grew up knowing 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now you verified it pretty much.
Yeah. And like with any information, there's going to be certain people that have got a vague grasp of the subject and will try and disseminate their vague grasp and have inconsistencies and errors as a result. So again, only because I've been studying it a lot of recently, because I'm doing a GoFundMe campaign to publish it, so it's a nice little Weasley way of linking it in. But as a good example, foam, so acoustic foam. It's very specifically poo-pooed by a lot of acousticians because it doesn't absorb any bass. So it's not a good bass trap, but lots of foam is advertised and marketed as being a bass trap. Now, on the face of that, it's true, but without the little extra detail that is to say that most foam is maybe 5 centimetres deep, if you don't actually disclaim that, then it can be very misleading, because what actually makes a difference to the frequencies you can absorb? Well, the total depth of the trap. Doesn't really matter what it's made of. It could be foam, it could be insulation material, it could be fiberglass, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's got to let air through it, and yes, it does matter to a degree. You can't just have a solid rock, because that's got no absorption. But my point is that the depth of it is what matters. So you could have a 30 centimetre deep foam trap, and it would just be as effective as one that's made out of fiberglass. But when they say foam, they're specifically referring to a very thin piece of foam that if you covered your walls in it, as a lot of people do, it's going to sound god-awful because it's not going to absorb any bass. That said, to make the statement, half-truth, foam isn't a bass trap, well, no, thin foam isn't a bass trap, but somebody with only a vague knowledge of the subject would detail that, and people would think, oh, I better get rid of all my foam then. And I was one of them, because at the time I'd bought several different products. One of them was foam bass traps that were 30 centimetres deep, far from being a little thin pad that you stick on a wall. They're massive. And after listening to several people say foam isn't a bass trap, you go, all right, bloody hell. But then you do a bit more research and find people actually testing them. And when they're saying it, they're talking about something that's maybe 5 to 10 centimetres thick. And you go, okay, that makes sense. It's not deep enough. It hasn't got the depth to get the quarter wavelength. Why would it absorb bass? It's too thin. But on the surface, somebody with a half-truth and a limited amount of information has disseminated that to an audience, and it's wrong, because it's missed out one detail. Overall, it's not wrong. As a general rule, it's not wrong, but it is wrong. So the same is true for anything. You just have to do extensive research and figure it out to some degree for yourself, i.e. actually suck it and see, rather than just taking what people say as read. That's not to say that information that is online, because I've just very specifically referenced acousticians who are treating Hollywood studios, and very little of what they say is wrong. They're very forthright about what they say, and they're very dogged about it. They're like, this is right. I know, because I've done it. I've got 140 rooms that are tested, and I can show you the results for all of them. I know what works and what doesn't. Those are the people that you can trust, providing you double check what they're actually saying, because they could be charlatans, right?
Yeah. Let's turn it to the ballers. They say straight is curved. All right, let's go look up straight everywhere. It never says it's curved.
Yeah, that's the trench level doublespeak for the problem that Darren was disseminating via email. So you've got 0, 90 degrees to the surface you're standing on for a building, and then you go 100 miles away and it's measuring the exact same thing. And the machine he's using remembers if it had moved slightly from the original position. And they both show us straight. Well, like I've just explained, your geodesic surveyor is going to assume tangent plane and then do his measurements. But the trench level, they can't just say that. So they say, well, level's curved. They engage in the most overt, obvious doublespeak you could engage in. A fundamental contradiction. Two things that are the antithesis of one another being described as the same thing. Curved, because it's what they think they're standing on, is flat, because it's what they're actually standing on.
Yeah, the depth of the deception, the bias to hang on to that ball, to that sphere that you want to live on so bad, makes you say level or straight or horizontal or anything that resembles a straight line is curved. That's like doublespeak, like check yourself into Bellevue doublespeak.
But that causes cognitive pain, though, and that's starting to come to the surface more and more as time goes by. So people in the chat who are regulars disclaiming how this stuff bothers them. Got a couple of examples now. And you think, yeah, I've always suspected that was the case. I think it deeply bothers them. And on our side of the argument, I can only speak for myself, but I've got other accounts firsthand of people who I've interviewed who have said the same thing. It's a relief. Less stress as a flat earther as far as I'm concerned. That's including all the ridicule.
Yeah. You know, this whole thing, when it started, I heard, I had heard the term cognitive dissonance that I could recall any time in my life. I probably heard it, but I never heard it enough times to know what it is. And then I heard it once I got involved in flat earth debate, and I'm saying, oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And then as been on here for a while, you could tell what it is. They come and exemplify it through their actions. And that's where I love your share your pain. Most people think that's something you say derogatory or in a way to adding salt to a wound. But I think you're actually saying share your pain so we could help you.
Well, yeah, that's 99% of the time that's true, although in the last couple of days in the chat rooms I have actually turned that around just for fun. Well, my own amusement, which is a bit sadistic. But it's like, no, I actually enjoy watching you in pain. While they're moaning about me. Yeah, share your pain.
Well, prior to doing that, sadistically, as you say, recently, you only do that to the trench level ad homers.
Oh yeah, they're attacking me for whatever reason. I can't remember what's happened 10 minutes ago, let alone what someone faceless random troll is attacking me on in a chat that I'm monitoring for whatever reason. I can't remember. But the point is that particular level of attack is constant. It's the norm. That's what's expected. If you find out you're in the company of a flat earther, you'll automatically, instinctually go to that. For whatever reason, indoctrination, it doesn't matter. But even with all that taken into consideration, I sleep better now than I did before. Concerning myself with the vast emptiness and pointless nature of our existence, that was a bit stressful, I've got to be honest. And I pondered it and contemplated it, which is probably why I so easily transitioned to flat earth, because I had contemplated it, pondered it, and stressed about it. Now, as described by Conspiracy Cats when he was interviewed by Haunted House, the contemplation spans into other things. If I've been lied to about this, then there's a good chance lots of other things I hold as true and dear aren't true either. And that's just too much to bear, according to Conspiracy Cats, when he's losing sleep over this stuff.
Do you have that recorded? I'd love to hear that.
Yes, it's Haunted House's channel. I'll have to dig out the link. I will. I'll share it with you.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Oh, I have to say, you have to give Chemo credit for Share Your Pain. He was the one that started that. You have to admit.
You sure?
Chemo's talking like the Globers are in pain and they really don't, it was Chemo. You got to give him credit.
Okay, if it was Chemo, I'll give Chemo credit. Hey, Arwin. Hey, Arwin.
Welcome.
Got in just before I did the intro. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, a quick shout out to all of you who have supported my GoFundMe campaign. Massive appreciation to Alexander, who smashed the GoFundMe campaign in the last 24 hours. So big shout out to you and everyone else who has supported me. There is a link in the live stream chat. So a warm welcome to Discord and Google. We've got 10th Man, Arwin, Neil, Paul, and Sleeping Warrior, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hey. Good morning, welcome. Start the debate.
Good morning, good to have you all. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Moonlight State Beach.
Nope.
Dr. Phil had produced a satellite photo of Earth curvature
Who did?
yesterday on Discord. Dr. Phil on Discord. He did it yesterday.
Dr. Phil. Who's that? He must be new.
I don't know if he's new or not, but he's on Discord quite a bit. He's on Jim Payne's server. He was actually on the 24/7 yesterday.
So how did he get a picture from a violation of a natural law?
Oh, we don't know if that's the satellite he's talking about, Paul. So where was this satellite claimed to be when it took the picture?
Well, he said it was in space. Somebody asked him about vacuum, and then
that's a bit of a problem. Oh dear. You see, space is fake, Paul. You can't have gas pressure without a container, and obviously we live in a high pressure gas environment, and without a container there'd be no pressure. That's a conspiracy cats quote. Without the container there can be no pressure. End quote. So, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Ergo, the sky is not a vacuum. Outer space is fake. So no, he definitely hasn't got pictures from a satellite claimed to be orbiting in a fake medium. Orbit is a begging the question fallacy, and space is fake.
Maybe he made a mistake. He meant a balloon, like a high altitude helium balloon.
Maybe. What was the picture of? Was it of Earth as a complete sphere, or what? What was the picture of, Paul?
It was. You can't actually get a picture of a complete sphere, so to speak, but you can get a disc-looking side. It looks like a disc. So he did get supposedly one picture, one side of the so-called sphere.
One side of the circle, and by that you mean the horizon was being claimed to be the edge of the sphere.
Right. And it was asked on the Discord, how did he measure that to know the actual circumference? All that kind of stuff came out.
Measure what?
I won't regress into that. But, yeah.
Measure the apparent horizon in the picture and claim that it's a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that can block things with its physicality when it's a not actual apparent location that has no physicality. Why would they do such a thing? Well, maybe you don't know. You can't speak for them. Why would you do such a thing, Globehead Fundies? The horizon is not a physical location. It doesn't have any physical attributes to block boats and buildings. It's a not actual location. And you can't derive an R value from it. It would require physicality, so you could claim it as a tangent point to draw a straight line to it to measure its tangent nature if Earth was spherical. However, the horizon is definitely not physical. It's not a tangent point. You can't draw a straight line to it, according to you. So it has nothing to do with geometry. Therefore, you can't derive R and bend the horizon with R that was derived by a physical tangent point that you haven't got. The horizon is not physical. It's not the edge of a sphere. It's not blocking boats and buildings. It's definitely not bending with altitude. It's a not actual place. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
No, I was going to say I couldn't respond because I had a screaming kiddo in the background.
That'll be a no.
Any evidence of the distance to
Can
the
you
sun?
hear me?
Hey, Arwen, yes, we can hear you. You're a bit quiet, though.
Really?
Yeah,
How
a
is
little
that
bit.
possible?
Sounds like you're buried in a coffin underground and we can just hear you through the ground,
Let
Alan.
me out! Let me out!
I'm literally 5 centimeters from my mic.
You're okay
It
now.
sounds like you're underground.
No, turn the gain up a little bit, maybe, and back off it.
Hey.
Yeah, on the back of your Yeti, there's a gain control. Anyway, let's not have this technical discussion in the middle of a live show. Distance to the sun? Anybody at all?
No, no distance to the sun.
How's this?
Shit. Hey, Nathan, there is evidence apparently that the sun does have a physical outer shell. It has got physicality to it, according to Samuel Robitaille. Did you catch the video that he did in response to, what's his name? Is it Professor Dave? Professor Dave basically picked on one of the most reputable PhDs out there. Now, reputable in the context of his field, which is like he's studied the sun in detail. And whether you agree with Robitaille or not, his position on it as a PhD in his field is that the sun does have a physicality to it. Now, I don't know how he proves it, and I don't know the arguments for it, but he claims in debunking Dave on some of his disrespectful, condescending, patronizing opinions against Dr. Robitaille, he argues and makes the point that it is well-established science that the sun does have a physical outer shell, at least.
Excellent.
Now,
Did he say that?
I need to do a bit more reading.
Hold on, did he say that? It's established science?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
excellent,
that's what
because we know what science is here, don't we? So presumably he's got an observed natural phenomena, an independent claim to be cause of an effect, a validated hypothesis with a null formulated prior to experimentation. Presumably he's got all those things, right?
I don't know. I was just letting people know that Mr. Robitaille, Dr. Robitaille, claims that the sun does have a physicality and it is physical. So I don't know where the evidence is. I'm just passing on the message. So if anybody wants to do any research to find out whether or not the sun actually is physical with the evidence that supports it, let's see it, because I want to know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Me three. Hey, Adam.
Approach.
Arwen, you're like a 1 out of 10, mate.
Fuck, I don't know what's wrong with this thing.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Oh, Arwen, I know what it is. Are you on a Yeti, right?
Yes.
Go into the bottom right-hand corner where your speaker is. Not your microphone, but your speaker. Right-click on your speaker, and then click Sounds. And then in the menu that comes up, click on Recording. And then click on...
Oh, my God. Hello? Middle of a live show?
Then click on your properties for your Yeti. Check your actual recording, your levels on your Yeti.
Hey, I heard you.
Continue on.
This is too much, man.
Okay.
I've just realised mine was low as well.
Then you're not low. You're definitely not low. Anthony. It's all good.
Yes.
Okay, right, let's move on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, it's presupposed.
Well, P waves and S waves aren't possible unless it's a sphere, Nathan. They don't work.
You back off your mic a bit, Anthony. Thank you.
Let me turn it
Good
down.
morning, guys.
Good morning, Chocolate.
Hi, Buckeye.
Hey up, Chocolate.
Yo. What's up, guys?
Molten iron core.
Hey, Chocolate, I'm liking that music video.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very,
Video
very
itself
good.
is credit Spurs.
This is incredible. Anthony's really loud, Arwen's really low, and we're talking technical.
Yeah, I can't do
I've
anything
just-
about it either. I can't turn Arwen up. I can't turn Anthony down. I can only ask that they don't discuss great technical details during the middle of a live show, but I can't control that.
I've just turned
Okay,
me down.
if I
Am I loud
answer, I'll
enough?
just
Perfect.
yell. Is that okay?
You're both perfect. Thank the Lord. You're both
Okay,
perfect now.
I'll just yell. But then, look, if you guys are gonna talk when I talk, then I'm gonna get really fucking pissed off. All right?
Well, at least then we'll hear you.
I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny.
Arwen,
It's not funny when
somebody
I'm not
bury you
audible.
underground?
It's not funny when I'm not audible. Okay?
Arwen, do us a favour. Do as a mic test for me. Just say, "Let me out."
No, it's not fucking funny, Tony.
No swearing. Oh, God, guys, hello. We're still in the middle of housekeeping. 10 minutes into the show. Hello. Malt 9 Core? Anybody at all?
Nah.
No such thing. It's comedy Tuesday, though.
Do you realise, right? So
Only
housekeeping
imagination.
questions. Only imagination, indeed. The housekeeping questions were Anthony Riley's idea, yet he makes a complete mockery of them every time he comes here.
See, if I don't make a mockery of it, we've got to get to the point where we start laughing at these morons. Because it's like, I don't know how they can't see this. This is like...
We haven't reached that point yet? Hold up.
Yeah, we don't get there enough. I think Nathan's trying to criticize with a compliment as well at the same time. Because the point is that it is ridiculous to think that the Earth's turning because we see the sky turn. It is ridiculous to think that there's a molten iron core when the most that we've got is an 8-foot hole. It's ridiculous.
They don't even know what Coriolis.
8 mile.
8-foot hole.
They don't even know what Coriolis is, and yet they debate it.
How's my volume now?
You're perfect, Darwin. You're good.
All right, I set the microphone to 100. It was set on 70 for some reason.
Well, you're good now. It's all good.
God.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Gravity.
You can't even define gravity, Nathan, so how can we have any evidence of it? Come on.
But any scientific evidence of the
I
bending?
was gonna say, which gravity?
What does that do? What does it do? What does gravity do?
Nothing. It's not a force. It bends.
Gravity is made up because they have a made-up sphere that needs something made up to keep everything on it.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So gravity causes things to stay on the ball. That's it? How does it do that?
No, gravity bends time in the conceptual medium of the heliocentric model. It's a reification fallacy to assert it exists in reality.
No, gravity doesn't bend time, Nathan. That's the uneven distribution of mass that bends time. Gravity is the effect of the bending of time, it doesn't bend time. It can't do anything.
My bad. In the conceptualization that is heliocentric gravity of an Einsteinian nature, the uneven distribution of mass causes the bending of space-time, and that is labelled as the effect of gravity. How's that?
Yes, because gravity can't do anything. That's the thing that ball earthers tell us, and it can't. So just remember to recite the definition back to them and then get them to try and explain how Newton's apple falls off the tree. And it's just poetry listening to them do their abstractions and to explain the things that we see. It's brilliant.
Stage 1123 says gravity is magic. Well, no, because at least something happens. There's an apparent effect when you're watching a magic trick, but there isn't anything with gravity. There is no magic happening.
Okay, so let me get this straight for a second. So if gravity is the effect of all these things, then gravity would be the description of the process of something causing air and all that to stick to the ball. But what is that?
No.
Hear me out. If it's the effect, supposedly, then what is actually the cause? What does cause things to stick to that ball, supposedly? Because gravity doesn't cause that. People say it, but it's the effect. So what is then the cause?
There isn't one. That's the point, right? This ad hoc explanation using gravity that says that it holds gas particles to the outside of a ball is nonsense. That's not what gravity is in an Einsteinian description. That is not what it does. It's not what it is. It's the uneven distribution of mass bending space-time. That's what it is. Now, what is time? Well, that's a concept. Can you bend, travel in, or move through a concept? No. Can you bend a concept? No.
How can you bend
conceptually?
Conceptually, in the model, yes.
How do you bend a volume as well? Because space is technically a volume. How do you do that?
You don't. All of this is taking place inside an abstract reification of a model.
Ooh. Talking of which, it has nothing to do with it. Did you guys notice I had a minus 100 votes on my show live today?
Minus 100 downvotes.
Yes.
There's a good chance that that'll have come from one person who's got multiple sock accounts attributable to their one account that they have. When YouTube sees that, they just remove them. About 24 hours later, you might find that drops to a mere 50.
I just wanted you to know that I seem to be a lot more unpopular than you. You only have minus 4.
No, you don't understand. That's not unpopularity. For example, people like Simon Dan, who come here, are seeking our attention. Now, they love to hate us, but they still desire and seek out our attention. So don't see the thumbs down as a negative thing. It's somebody showing their love of their hate for you. But they're interacting. Well, all YouTube is concerned about is the fact that they are so passionate about your show that they want to interact with it. So it develops a reaction, positive or negative, equally good either way for YouTube.
I know, that's why I laughed about it when I
there
said, ha
is-
ha ha, I'm more unpopular than you.
No, people love to hate you more than they love to hate me. I don't think that's true either.
Well, the numbers show it.
Probably
You're
one
not
person, though.
unpopular enough,
sorry, guys.
Nathan.
Hello. Hopefully this will move us on. Whoever that was, go ahead. Please save us from the thumbs down.
Yeah, that was me. I see Flatjoid is not online. I'm also from South Africa, so I'd say heads up to Flatjoid. But my thing about gravity, guys, is that within the conceptual bending of space-time, right, they always show it as a fabric, right? And the fabric being like up and down, you know what I mean? But if you really think about that ball and the way they explain it is that it kind of bends space-time in all directions. How do they explain that?
Well, they don't. They're reifying space-time into this fabric described when they stretch out a piece of material and then roll some bowling balls and tennis balls around it and say that it's analogous to the bending of a concept, i.e. time bending. So, no, it's just a mere reification fallacy when they show physicality in a piece of material and say that uneven distribution of mass and its bending of time is equivalent to a piece of material. It's the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. There is no concrete nature to the abstract nature of time bending, but yet they describe it as a piece of material that can stretch out with bowling balls rolling around it. It's absurd.
Here's a question. Is space physical?
Space in their vernacular, outer space, is fake. There is no outer space. Nature abhors a vacuum. The sky is not a vacuum, so no.
No. What I mean is within the space-time paradigm, is space physical?
No.
I know things are physical, like the counter's physical, my faucet's physical, I'm physical, but space is not physical.
No.
Don't you remember when Rumpus was on here and he was talking about how you have a hole in my yard and that's the equivalent? So I said, well, the hole is physical, and it takes longer to travel down through the hole than it would be to cross over the hole, But
Alvin, check Skype.
I think when you get enough debate shows under your belt, you realize that the ballers live in an abstract world of math that has absolutely no relationship with our reality.
Indeed. Every single claim to be globe-proof ever will start with the assumption that you're standing on a spherical surface. So begging the question fallacy in every single respect. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
No, they haven't actually gone beyond observation of something.
Yeah, they've got plenty of phenomena. Plenty of dependent variables to be going along with.
Right, but I don't know, man. They have books for signing and people really want them, so I think that, I don't know, that might be science. They think so.
That non sequitur is going to have to need a bit more explanation. they've got books to sign, therefore science. That makes no sense. You'll have to pad that out a bit, Arwin. Sorry.
Science is not the art of signing book. Science.
No,
No.
the author Winnie the Pooh signed books too.
Right.
he's
so
not
that
real.
makes him a scientist, right?
No, but Winnie the Pooh's not real.
Shakespeare
Oh.
never signed any books. Shakespeare wrote Winnie the Pooh, right?
Shakespeare's a fictional character.
Well, wait a minute. Tigger has a bendy tail, so they're getting close.
Yeah, you didn't
Okay,
say it
well-
right. Try it again in iambic pentameter.
Okay, well, if signing books is not the art of science, then I don't think that they have any. But they have a lot of books that they write about their conceptions, and people really love it and call them scientists.
Yeah, again, no. Observation of phenomena. Assertion of independent and dependent variable in a hypothesis with a null. Experimentation. Actualization of said hypothesis to establish if your presumed cause is the cause of the effect. That's science. Hey, Righteous Force.
All right.
Afternoon or morning or wherever it is you
getting
are.
used to the new system.
Yeah, new for you. This is first time on. What's it called? Meet. We call it Google. Don't call it Meet.
It's Google.
Any evidence of the R value? That'd be Earth radius.
I say black swan to that.
Well, at best, we've disproven it, so it's up to the ballers to basically re-establish what the R value even supposed to be, if we've disproven the original R value.
They can't,
Well,
because they've got
Then-
Arwin's paradox ahead of them.
can try.
They could
No,
try. They've
they
tried.
established that- right, they established that they have already that we've slightly disproven the radius. So yeah, how are you going to re-establish this radius, ballers? What is the R value? And then we can, if as soon as you actually have a new R value that you're going to forward as this is it, then we can talk about how you came to that. And yeah, we'll see from there on.
Well, the problem is they have given us an R value. It just doesn't work out in reality. It's 3,959 miles, and the geometric horizon is not where it's supposed to be. In fact, you wouldn't expect to see it. So they're in trouble.
So let's re-establish this R value, ballers. It's
Yeah.
very tough to believe in a heliocentric model if you don't have a coherent R value for the ball Earth. Come on.
Well, then what would you do with the past few hundred years of the R value and everything predicated on 3959? They'd have to throw out the whole thing.
No, you just update it like they always have.
No, then the sun would be further or closer, and the moon would be further and closer. Everything would be messed up.
Yeah. What is it? That has changed countless times. Remember, like 300 years ago, the sun was like a quarter of the distance it's now. So that constantly moves around. That's fine. They've been doing that for a long time. But they have to get the R value actual at some point. So
What was
is it?
what was the R value when the sun was closer?
No, it's the same R value. It's the application of Kepler's third law. So you've got a sliding
Right.
scale with those maths. And you just need a scalar. So in the current rhetoric, Venus is the same size as Earth, Earth's twin. It's just assuming that that particular light in the sky has the same radius, which is what pushes it out to 93 million.
Yeah, but they've got rovers on Mars, and they've been close to the sun, and
No, they
they've
haven't.
been far
No, they
away, and they don't know these things now that Venus isn't the same size.
No, they haven't, and no, they don't. They don't travel through a sky vacuum to get to Mars. Mars is a light in the sky, claiming that it's a physical, tangible object you can travel to by way of rockets in a sky vacuum, when the location they claim this light is in is a violation of natural law, therefore doesn't exist. So their description of that light in the sky is not true. There is no rovers on
Agreed.
that orange light.
Agreed, but I said that because they say they've done it, and if they've done all that, they've verified the size of Venus. So now they're going to have to say what?
That's not what they used to verify the size of Venus. They used bounce off it. So they looked through a load of distorted noise at the timings they would expect based on the presupposed radius and Kepler's third law, giving them Venus to be the same size. They can have a predicted return time for a ping. So Jodrell Bank fires a ping, they get nothing back, or seemingly nothing, but some guy called Bob from, not from NASA. JPL, yeah, correct. Came along and said, no, here's the return signal, that's where it is, look, right at the timing we expected, based on our presuppositions of an R value and Venus being the same size and the distance being what we've already calculated, that's when we expect to see the return signal, that's where the return signal is, therefore we've got the distance to Venus. Bob's your uncle.
Good old Bob.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No evidence of it. Danny Faulkner seems to have found something on YouTube, though.
Well, I think that the ballers are still trying to get this whole bouncy ball idea through. Yeah, it's very tough to do, though, because, it basically violates fundamental physics, like step one physics. They somehow have to reconcile, but separate molecules are like physical like gases as separate molecules are like physical balls, yet they are still unbonded. So how is this working exactly? And that led to that magnificent little piece you had with Rumpus the other day. And
is Adam in here by any chance?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Chocolate.
Adam, first of all, I want to say Adam is dope, and I'm sure he's got a nice head and torso on his mantle from last night.
oh, this sounds good. Clear the airwaves. Go ahead, tell us all about it.
We were chatting with Professor Phil last night, weren't we? And gas pressure without a container came on. We got to the point, Nathan, where his analogy was that the majority of the gas molecules are going up like a bullet, where they then reach a point of zero kinetic energy. He's so dumb, isn't he? Every line he was just. So we got to that point. So what's dispelling the kinetic energy? Colliding with other gas molecules was one of the reasons, Nathan, that they run out of energy because they hit each other. So we were pointing out that this is an elastic collision. It was one cluster screw after another.
Just before you go on, sorry, for the benefit of my audience, just explain the difference between inelastic and elastic collisions, so you can clarify why that was a laughable point as you just sniggered about it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so an elastic collision is a collision where there is no exchange of the kinetic energies in the molecules.
So just to clarify,
no loss of energy at all. So a bit like the good example of a inelastic collision would be to say pour bouncy balls out of something, and you'll see that they won't get as high as the point of pouring because they'll lose kinetic energy there, and then they'll eventually dissipate to the floor. So that's the kind of the difference. Whereas a gas molecule will just keep going at with no loss of kinetic energy.
So in other words, when he says, well, they just reach zero in terms of kinetic energy, correct me if I'm wrong, that would mean that they'd have to reach absolute zero to stop, would they not?
Well, there was that fact that there's the temperature there, so he mentioned as well. So
yeah, all of the ones except the ones that apparently hit the thermosphere and start heating up and then actually leave the open system that we're in. So it's very selective.
Hold on, I've got an issue there, Chocolate. Did you say hits the thermosphere? How can it hit something that isn't a physical barrier?
Yeah. As Professor Phil.
We got to the thermosphere because his main point was that everything's colder up there, so they slow down because they're so cold. I didn't need to point out the boiling points of these gases are a lot lower than the temperatures supposedly as you go up. But then we got to the point where there was the thermosphere, where obviously the temperatures theoretically increase. So suddenly we've now got these gas molecules that are re-energized again, but apparently they don't. So, like I say, it was just a cluster of contradictions, all basically, again, Nathan, trying to get to the point that it's gravity that's containment.
They've got to get to the magical reification of their bending conceptual medium that means nothing and isn't a force, to assert that they've got a force that holds gas here at trench level. But this isn't a goon at trench level, though, right?
No, he's a professor.
It's actually sad. We've gotten better arguments from goons at trench level. I even told them that yesterday because it's just sad what he brought, which was nothing. I mean, literally nothing.
They just run out of energy because elastic collisions aren't real, is what I heard him saying. So from what I've gleaned, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, the claim is, well, they just run out of energy. Why? Well, because they're hitting other particles. Yeah, but the collisions, as you've pointed out to him, are elastic. So no, they're not losing any energy. And they're re-energized when they get into another part of their thermodynamics violation that they've got in the sky vacuum, with it being re-energized when it gets to the thermosphere. But it just it just works. Look at the sky. Look, that's a vacuum.
But only a few of them, Nathan. Most of them follow this, and this is where he, again, had to go through his gravity. Most of them have a 9.8 applied to them constantly, so as they're constantly slowing down. So again, even in his own theory, he couldn't then explain how the others managed to not have this force applied to them to lose their kinetic energy.
But then remember, Adam, remember how he just started to describe how at ground level that without containment the gas would disperse.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he actually contradicted his own paradigm. He says not some of them have the 9.8 meters per second, but technically under his own paradigm, all of them should have 9.8 meters per second applied to them. Not just some of them, all of them.
Yes, they need all gas to behave like bouncy balls and go down, go boom, boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls do when poured into a fish tank, because they're inelastic. They'll lose energy as they bounce. Well, that means they'd come back down to the Earth. Well, do we have gas doing that? No. Gas is created at ground level and makes its way up because it expands in all directions. Not down at 9.8 meters per second. All vectors with elastic collisions equally to expand the volume in all directions. Not down, not 9.8 meters per second, not mostly down. All vectors.
Adam, how did he answer elastic collisions? Did you try to keep his feet to the fire? Did he know what it meant?
Well, no, he didn't. That was the point where we, I think, butted in, because we had to keep on it, because he just starts every sentence with a falsehood. And that was, again, one of them where he's trying to paint this fantasy of a sky vacuum and explain why. And I say he began that explanation by claiming that part of the reason they're running out of energy, because he's trying to avoid going into saying the word gravity, that gravity's taking kinetic energy off these gas molecules, even though it doesn't at ground level, as Chocolate said. But yeah, so no, that was his first point of saying,
he didn't even want to have the discussion about gravity. Remember when John asked him, well, okay, what type of gravity are you talking about? And he just said, well, just gravity. just gravity. That's not important. Like, okay, it's your claim, isn't it?
Right. So QE was there. So this will go out on Quantum Racer's channel then. Excellent.
Oh yeah. Me, Adam, QE was there. There's a couple people there, man. He was getting passed around.
Miggy kept it on track as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Miggy's good with that. Yep. Yeah, that'll get reloaded or re-uploaded or something.
It's a good few hours and all, weren't it? It was early hours when we.
It was like 3 hours or so. It was fun. And this is after the coming in and getting smashed in the first 5 minutes with his, because his first proof was ships going over the curve, was first proof of globe. And then when shown an RC boat disappearing bottom up on a lake, that's way too small to have that effect be curve of the Earth. And he said, well, that would have happened. And then he was shown it in 2 seconds, and he had no response to it. I mean, it was just... and then he shows us a picture of a building with no pedigree information and asks us what's happening, which was the same effect that just happened in the boat that we had just shown him. So, I mean, it was... it was fun.
I see. So he's using geometric, begging the question, proof of nothing perspective, hijacking Earth curve maths with its whole numbers for targets to assert that the horizon is a physical geometric sphere edge obscuring the boat or building in this example. And as you say, he presents an image with no heritage and then asks you to explain what's happening in his image he's using to not claim anything, but in fact reverse the burden of proof. Wow.
Exactly.
I like to respond to people like that with the following question. How do you explain premature sycamore pollination in the north of England on a sphere? For those of you who don't understand what I'm saying, if I'm not claiming something, then why should I have to justify something that's presented to me? For example, somebody shows me a building cut off at the horizon, and they say, why is this happening? Now, do I launch into, well, there's an angular limitation limit. It could be the weather. Maybe there's a swell obscuring your view in the near foreground or midground. I don't need to do that because I'm not claiming anything with it. Now, when a boat was presented on a lake, miniature scale, pre-Earth curve obstruction at the horizon disappearing bottom up, again, it's a demonstration that flies in the face of their physical assumption bias with a horizon that's an Earth curve edge for boats to fall over. But that's all you need. You just literally have to show it, right? You didn't have to say anything, correct, Chocolate?
Yeah. I mean, the best part was he says the ships go over the curve, right? So then Indio, shout out to Indio 007, he says, well, what if I show you a boat that completely disappears bottom up and nothing to do with the distance required for it to match your curvature maths, right? First thing he says is, well, that won't happen. Okay. Indio posts the video. It happens. He completely hand waves it and says, oh, well, you know, there's other things going on. I don't have enough information to respond to that. And then immediately after that, post a picture of the building with no information, no observation height, no distance, anything, and just asks us, well, what's going on here?
Right. In other words, hand wave it when it's your claim with actual distances and size and scale. He presents something with basically the same exact question posed at the end of it, but it's expected to be answered without any heritage information on his side. But when you present it, it's hand waved.
Exactly.
Sounds like he was actually saying that there's a physical Earth curve that's blocking boats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then after that, we jump to his second law of thermodynamics violation picture of a Himawari 8 satellite, what he claims is a photo from space.
That was his proof of Earth curve, wasn't it? To
Yep,
get to the proof of Earth curve, he brought out the Himawari 8.
What happened to Al-Biruni?
Al-Biruni, he didn't even know anything about it. He was asked later on how they derived the R value in the first place. He went to Eratosthenes. He was asked, is there any prime information for that? Obviously, there's not. So, I mean, he's just a hot mess.
They pointed out that he puts satellites into space, apparently. So how did he get the R value? If the R value, the reason he cites it is from the Himawari 8, you measure it, apparently, from that picture. That's how you get the R value. And that's, but then it was pointed out to him, the contradiction that, well, if you had to put the satellite up there to get the measurement, how did you get your R value to put your satellite up there in the first place? And he stuttered and...
Well, what I find interesting is that Al-Biruni went to a mountain and got the same measurement.
No. What Al-Biruni did was reify the horizon into a tangent point and take a dip angle measurement, whereas the Himawari 8 is claimed to be in Narnia. Sky vacuum isn't a real place. So no, he's not sending satellites up. He is deceived. Now, I'm not going to call him a liar. It's not like the astronauts where they are overtly lying. He's just deceived. It may very well be the case that he built something. I don't doubt it. But it doesn't mean he's put something up into a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum to give us the, what would you call them? Bloody paintings, you might as well call them in the case of the Himawari, right? It's absolutely as fake as it gets. Why? Well, because it's claimed to have come from somewhere that doesn't exist.
Well, that was my point. I was saying, since there is no physical geometric horizon, what's the difference with Al Biruni saying he saw something he could never see, or this guy making up a violation of natural law and saying he got it from there?
Right. But it's tragic. You know, this is going to be painful. When people like Adam point out that, no, the sky is definitely not a vacuum, how would you explain the gas being here? And he has no answer. That's because it's a violation of natural law. Now, if he's in the slightest bit competent, he'll be aware of that. And that will be cognitively painful when he's trying to explain it away with gravity and justify work he's done that he's been told has gone to a place that doesn't exist. So he's been deceived. And I feel a bit sorry for him. Because he's a professional guy, right? He's got letters after his name. He's done the work. Seems unreasonable that that person should be in a position where whoever is in their authority, whoever is their guru, has essentially led them down a path of destruction. Because that's where he's ended up, being destroyed by flat earthers. How embarrassing. Now, if you paid money to get into that position, that's even worse, right? He shouldn't be in that position. And for that, I do empathise. I don't know about
Who
you,
are you
Adam.
talking about?
The guy that's claiming sky vacuums and that has sent up satellites like the Himawari. Well, I don't know if Adam, you agree. I can empathise with that. He's handed over his cash. He's done his time. He's learned what he thought was correct. And just like Dr. John Dee, he's now going back after the fact, of his own back, I might add, to see where what he was taught as fact and true isn't. And this guy hasn't done that yet. He's instead, under the misapprehension that everything he knows is correct, is being taken to pieces by flat earthers. That's embarrassing.
Is he responding like John Dee responded?
Well, only Adam can tell us that, or Chocolate.
Absolutely not.
Well, then he's not going to learn.
Yeah, no. He's
See,
not
smart
interested in learning.
people listen and they learn and they move forward. Stupid people are stuck in their religion.
Well, we're hoping for the best, that he'll see the light, and if he's elastic, he'll bounce back.
But Adam, are you there? Do you have any empathy for this man in regards to his misapprehensions that he's been led down the wrong path on? Adam might have slipped away. If he doesn't respond in the next couple of seconds, I'll just ask someone else.
Hey, how's my volume now?
Perfect, Arwin. Much better. Maybe a little too loud.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too loud.
Tony helped me out a little in the background, and it was very weird because literally my volume control was sliding without me doing anything.
Okay,
so it was like somebody was literally from the outside hacking my volume control. Very weird.
Please, can you turn the gain control on the back of the mic back down to where it was, though, because you're distorting.
Right, but I'm back.
But turn the gain down on the mic, because you're distorting. You're clipping the mic.
What?
Clipping your mic. Your gain's too high now, because I told you to turn it up. Let's not drag this out. Just turn the little knob back to how it was, and you'll be perfect. Not distorting.
So this?
Perfect. That's much better. Not clipping, not distorting.
Okay.
And support my GoFundMe campaign. The reason I can tell that he's clipping instantly is because I've acoustically treated the room. I can instantly hear it now. So it's not when I go back to the show afterwards, I'm going, oh God, Arwen's clipping his mic. But I couldn't, now I can tell. That's why I'm doing this. So instantly the problem's resolved. Anyway, support my GoFundMe.
Can I say something about Dr. Phil? He will never question his paradigm because he's a professor. He has spent his life teaching people something specific. Dr. John D is more in the profession, right? He understands it. He knows it. He's not necessarily a teacher. So John has a little bit more option to be able to change, like even Adam, he's a pharmacist. So there's a sense that in that realm, you may have not very much to lose, but Dr. Phil has a lot to lose. If he decides to be a flat earther and questions things, do you think he's going to be teaching anymore? You think?
Exactly. That's what I empathise with. Given that he's injected, I don't know how old he is, but a fair old chunk of his life into this stuff. And up until now, he was presumably admired and respected and revered for his information and knowledge. Well, now he's got people who are deemed to be stupid, and I'm talking about us, flat earthers, putting him straight and showing where he's wrong. Now, as much as it's a lot of people may not like me saying, well, it's embarrassing because flat earthers are considered stupid, I'm talking on a general normie level. That is actually the case, like it or lump it. But to have the people who are considered by them to be stupid correcting you, that's embarrassing. And leaves him in a position where if he accepts his inconsistencies and incorrect assertions, he's got to accept that his career's essentially over. Well, that's not good. I don't see that that's fair on him. I don't even know the guy, and I can empathise with that. Paul.
Well, you all know my story with my high school teacher, and I kept raising my hand, and he finally said, look, I don't even believe it. I just got to teach it. Well, at that point, he was free and I was free because I realized he wasn't really teaching because he believed it, because I kept arguing with him. But this guy, he believes it.
Exactly. Unlike John Dee, who has come to the conclusion that many of the things he's been taught may not be correct, and then to go back and revise his knowledge, this guy actually is at the position prior to that, where he's like, no, everything I know is correct. Well, you showing me to be wrong is going to be hand-waved because I'll give you the exact same example and ask you the question with no heritage information.
Well, it was funny.
Oh, go on, Paul.
I was saying it's funny on that Discord. I was on there with them a little bit. That's the him and Warriors, what I was bringing up earlier before in the after show. There was an engineer on there that was a flat earther, and he was calling Dr. Phil out, and when Dr. Phil realized he's an engineer, he says, "You're a flat earther and you believe in this? You're an engineer and you believe in flat Earth?" He goes, "Yeah, because I went back and looked at it." And so it's funny that here's an engineer believing in flat Earth and a professor that won't even question. That's pretty funny.
Well, I could dovetail on that point, because when I have thought I knew how to do certain things in the different trades I was in, someone with more skill said, "Hey, you want to learn how to do that better?" I go, "Absolutely." He showed me a better way, and I gave up the old for the new because he was in the trade much longer than I was. Whereas these guys, they can't take it if they're wrong. I don't mind if I'm wrong if you're going to help me with the right.
Well, and isn't it funny though? A lot of people that are in school, I've actually had when I was in college too. I actually had a professor say, "Well, yeah, we teach this in class, but in the real world, it doesn't work that way." How many times have you heard that? Anybody that's been in school? I heard that a lot when I was in college.
That statement says a lot.
I was hoping to get Adam's take on it. I don't know if you heard the beginning part of this, Adam. Are you there now?
Yeah, I had to nip away there again.
Do you empathise with the guy that you debated against?
I think yes and no. Initially, yes. But you get to like last night, and it's not that anymore, because he's standing up there and lying, misrepresenting, and trying to use his qualifications to fool people, just as he tried. Luckily, there was a lot of people there last night that he couldn't get one falsehood past people. Which showed him up for the deceiver that he's become. And that's, to me, why I have no sympathy. Whatever he was in the past, it was, and we all had that shock and wake up. What you then decide to do moving forward, even staying quiet is better than going out on what he's doing, which is going out intentionally to deceive people and give them pseudoscience to keep them on their ball. Yeah, and that's just.
If I could add, there were so many times that Adam. I mean, we all know Adam is just a very cordial, nice fella, and he went at him. They went at each other, and it's like Adam would present his argument, and this guy would he would either insult him, or he would just completely shut down and say, "Well, I'm that's ridiculous," or "rubbish" was the word he was using. It's like, and I'm sitting there thinking, "Wow, well, this should be a lot more decent than it is, because this is a guy, this is a chemist, talking to somebody who professes to be a professor. This should be a lot more on a higher level, and the just Phil just kept bringing it down to a level that it was almost just kind of sad, to be honest. I don't know if you felt that way, Adam, but I mean,
he couldn't address any of the points because we were using science. And
right.
he was trying to paint his fantasy paradigm. But that's why every time we went to a bit of science, you're right, he would either go to ad hom, or what he tried was flexing his academic muscles as well, didn't he? So I had to give him a bit back at that and point out that
was the best part.
this is chemistry, so I'm more qualified than you, pal.
Chocolate, this guy sounds a lot like PhD Tony on Fight the Flat Earth, hiding behind his credentials.
Listen, do you understand this is the same guy that was laughing at us when we said water vapor is a gas? And he was in the background laughing. This is the same guy who apparently is a professor in hydrology, or I mean,
can someone verify if he has a Mercedes?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't know. That's what he says. But
well, that was part of the whole thing. I have a Mercedes. Oh, okay.
Oh shit! Wow.
That's that.
Excuse me.
Well, Neil had a Mercedes too, and he's a flat earther. Ha
I wouldn't normally mention this, right? But I thought there was someone tarring the roof next to me, and I've looked out the window, and there's a guy about 35 foot in the air on top of a roof with a tube and attached to a vacuum the size of a car that's about, I don't know, half a foot in diameter, vacuuming out chimneys. I'm not even joking. He's got a giant brush head. It's just like a massive giant tube going up from this industrial vacuum, and he's poking it down like a chimney sweep and vacuuming out chimneys. I've never seen anything like it. Sorry.
You see Mary Poppins? Mary Poppins there.
Thoughts of Mary Poppins are going through my head, other than the industrial-sized vacuum that he's currently pumping up and down this chimney that I'm watching. Sorry to mention that. I just thought it was a noteworthy experience. Strange thing that I'm watching. I completely killed the mood. It was distracting me, so I thought I might as well drop it in.
Don't worry about it, Nathan. It's just a fluke thing.
A fluke? Fluke.
Oh,
love it.
Well, very good, Tom.
That's top work. Thank you for that, Adam. I'm sorry to have completely segued away from it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You empathise until the point that it's overt that they're actually lying. Or weaving mistruths that are being pointed out to them in the moment, and they're not accepting that they're mistruths. They're just reiterating them in a different way. Am I right?
Yeah. And worse than that, he's purposefully misrepresenting to mug people off and trick them. And that's why there's no sympathy. Yeah. Got every sympathy for somebody for 30 years worked in the rocket industry and thought it was real. Yeah. But to then come out and then do what he's doing, I've got no sympathy for the man there.
Remember at the end, Adam, when he was asked to get the. I mean, we did a lot of circling back because he's a ducker and dodger, so we circled back to the R value. And remember at the end, he gave us the Pythagorean theorem with the R in it already.
Yeah, yeah. How to get R. Yeah. And then he just rearranged the formula, so the formula said R squared equals, didn't he? Just trying to trick people, and he's trying to use it because it was an R squared equals X squared plus Y, and then he just rejiggled the formula as if it was that made any difference when he's trying to figure out an R, and he's just given us just straight Pythagorean theorem, and we're pointing out that
they like to hide the R.
Yeah, instead of A, B, and C, he used X, Y, and Z, or X, Y, and R. He's like, no, this is not the Pythagorean theorem. R squared equals Y squared plus Z squared? What do you mean?
Which are we talking?
Change the variables.
Which are we referencing?
Well, this was the R he was trying to prove. So the way he did it was to go back it was to go back to the beginning, wasn't it? To say I could look at a picture and say how far something is away, and then define that and use X and Y coordinates of that to define R.
Just put the height and the distance, and you can figure out the R from there.
That's Al-Biruni's method. So what he's saying is I would reify the physical horizon and make it a tangent point and derive R that way.
Yeah, that's what...
All right. Oh, I assume someone whispered Black Swan to him.
Swan, we did. But that's what he went back to after saying, no, you couldn't do that.
Were you there when he was trying to explain the Black Swan with looming?
Oh, no.
Yeah, he tried. He actually came up with a diagram. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I can share it. You about to close out the show?
I didn't know what you said. Did you say Black Swan was moving?
Looming.
Looming? Oh, looming in their vernacular requires R, though, doesn't it? So they're going to move the horizon, say it's looming, but the application of refraction in their model is terrestrial in nature. That's 7/6 of the radius. So they'd still need to acquire the radius by having it be a physical tangent point to measure with a straight line. Say again?
This was also after incorrectly defining what
Truth
looming
be told,
is anyway,
hello. Truth
within
be told.
his paradigm. So
hold on, Chocolate.
It was a loss of the gate.
Chocolate, hold on. Truth be told, can you pop yourself on mute? Hello, truth be told, unless you've got something to add. Ugh, join a live show, chat on the phone, ignore the host. Love it, love it.
You tell him, Neil.
Go ahead, Neil, or Chocolate, sorry.
I think Chocolate is looking to put something on, but I wanted to say it's fine and dandy to go back to a piece of paper and give me your calculations, but how come it doesn't work in reality, i.e. Black Swan?
Because we don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. It's a not actual location. It's apparent, meaning not actual.
So it's just a calculation then?
A calculation based on a reification of a tangent point horizon, a physical location that you could draw a straight line to, with it being assumed to be the edge of a sphere.
I put his diagram and his pictures in Masterby.
Okay, let's just do this before we end the live show and ask everyone to stay tuned if they're watching on a premiering stream. So I've got it up on screen now, Chocolate. You want to talk us through what it is?
Oh, well, basically, I mean, this was his attempt at trying to describe what's going on in the Black Swan. And obviously, first off, John had to tell him, you know, that's a Black Swan, right? The picture you're presenting, like he's had it in his presentation since the beginning of this. But then went to looming. Now, I mean, if you want to look at that diagram on the bottom right, he said he made this himself. So I don't know if you want to look at that and make heads or tails of that, because he didn't go into too much detail. He just tried to say, well, it's looming, obviously, and we do see the geometric horizon, but not in the picture. It's just loomed up, and then he created this diagram to show us how that's happening.
Well, in that diagram, it's presenting the side of the side profile and orthographic representation. So what I mean by that is, in these images, we've got a horizon moving from right to left to left, left to right. Well, in this image, the horizon is represented by a single point because you've turned the view side on, so representative with the side of your own head being viewed from 90 degrees side on to where you're standing. That's not how we see things. And all that does is remove all aspects of perspective and claim that the effects of perspective are actually this side tangent, side on view to a physical sphere edge horizon that he's marking with a single point.
Right. Not only that, but obviously looming would it would have to do with objects at the horizon as opposed to the horizon itself, which he said it was looming. So yeah, that's
correct. The definition of looming would be moving items with respect to the horizon, but their use of this colloquial term in this regard is actually their use of terrestrial refraction, which is 7/6 of the radius value. And you'd need to acquire a physical tangent point to measure that radius value to give you 7/6 R to move the horizon with R that you can't measure. It's a paradox, as Arwen points out quite admirably. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smash the like button, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out my GoFundMe campaign. Stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Can you guys see this disaster area?
What disaster area?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Have you got something on camera?
That was fun.
My boy James.
The audience
up,
can't
James?
see.
This is the flat earth debate, James.
Okie dokie. So it sounds like a proper annihilation, Adam.
Well, yeah, I'd leave that to others, but yeah, I didn't feel I had anything to even rebut. Mate, like I said,
Adam left with 2 legs and an arm. It was just manslaughter.
he got so bad, Nathan, that it descended, didn't it, at Chock, and even the moderators just kicked him out because he had nothing. Do you know what I mean? And he was just chatting shit at the end, just repeating himself, contradicting himself.
Because he provided nothing but 2 pictures with no pedigree information, an equation with a presupposed R value already as a variable in it. What else? Hemorrhari 8 supposed photograph. I mean, this is what he brought as a professor.
Yeah, they underestimate their opponents, basically, and it's glaringly obvious when they get here that how they've so badly underestimated what they're going to be faced with. They're so used to spewing the rhetoric and assuming R that they see it as absolutely no issue to point out that that's how it's done. Well, what we do is we take this R value and we put it into the maths, little people that don't understand maths, and you go, where'd you get the R value? Well, we measured it by dip angle to the horizon. No, you can't. Horizons are not actual location. Black swan. Well, I've debunked that. Look at my image. I've got a side profile picture that doesn't in any way represent or look like any of the black swan images. You don't see the side of your own head. You don't see an orthographic view. You can't see 90 degrees onto an observation. A horizon's not a single point. But based on me assuming an R value, based on a geometric physical sphere edge horizon that boats fall over, that I'm saying can't be seen because I'm going to bend the light around the horizon with an R value that I can't measure, that means that the horizon is physical. No. Black swan. Here's 3 images that all demonstrate that the physical horizon isn't physical. It's even defined as such. So it's not a tangent point, you can't derive R from it, and claiming that you can isn't going to get around the fact that it's still a begging the question fallacy to assume an R value that cannot be measured, cannot be derived, because you haven't got a physical sphere edge for a horizon. Hey, QE. We're getting the long and short of your and Adam's and Chocolate's annihilation yesterday.
The barbecue of Just Phil.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, now I know who you're talking about. Just Phil Bell.
Yeah, Just Phil, man.
Oh,
That's
Just Phil. Oh, I've got a little clip of him saying, of course we presuppose the Earth's a sphere.
Yep. We played it. I shared it for him.
What was his response to his own words, declaring quite overtly that he has actually begged the question, utilised logical fallacy? What was his response?
Oh, he didn't respond to that. He was too busy trying to shuckle and jive and just try to respond to everybody asking him questions. So he didn't really directly respond to that.
So, Chocolate, you said that Adam walked away with 2 arms and 2
Both
legs.
his legs and an arm and probably like an eye.
No, Adam said Adam even said he teabagged him.
Yes, he did.
Well, I was gonna say, if Adam walked away with all that, did any baller have his back?
Oh, I'm so glad that's catching on, Adam. Because if anybody watching is familiar with the gaming community, teabagging somebody is the act of shooting them in the face in a game, running over to the location where they've died, and pressing the crouch button repeatedly to sit on their face. It's an insult. It's saying, look, I've killed you, and now I'm going to teabag you. Well, that's what it means. It's deeply derogatory. And given the amount of ridicule we suffer, I'm more than happy to employ this game of vernacular to pour salt into the wound. Let's just put it that way. Thanks, Adam.
That's exactly
No
how
pun
it was
intended.
used, mate. It was one of the points where we had just taken him apart, and he just went off on one, and I just said, "You just ignoring. I'm just giving you, as Nathan would say, complete teabagging, mate." And somebody posted Meekin's teabag.
I was dying, Adam. Oh, it was so beautiful.
That caught me off guard, kind of spirited.
Right?
Adam started
Adam
getting
was
upset.
Yeah. Because Phil was such a clown, man. It was like, you can't even, I don't know, it's just pathetic. You gotta listen to it, man.
I would have expected better, because I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who you were talking about until now. But I would call a trench level fundy.
Where can we listen to this?
I hope QE's going to rebroadcast it. Have you got a copy?
No. Not that one. He's a rank and file nitwit.
Yeah. Trench level
I
fundy.
believe Helio Skeptic, who's the owner of the channel for 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0, I think he's going to clip it out as a separate show and then post it. I'll actually check to see if he's done it already. Give me a sec.
Thank you very much. That'd be great. Helio's a good guy. Great. Hopefully he'll have trimmed it out and we can all enjoy a good laugh at Just Phil's expense.
I think the funniest part was after the
words beside the teabagging, by the way.
Did I?
Yeah.
Go on, tell us more.
I'd had a couple of sherbets, so you might have to remind me.
There was another winger. I remember laughing out loud at the time. I can't remember it now, but it's in there. I
think the most interesting part
is, is that Adam?
He's a
Once you get control of yourself.
Somebody's trying to add something, I think, from Discord. About 3 times somebody said the most interesting part is. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I think the most interesting part was right after they completely demolished him and he was all disappointed and stuff. Instead of actually banning him or anything like that, so they sent him to the cognitive dissonance area where all the other trolls and cognitive dissonance people are. Sure enough, in about 5 minutes, he became like king of that realm.
So he takes control of all the fundies who've been put in the cognitive dissonance room and starts riling them. I love it. Come on, fellas, let's beg the question together. In Are We Trust? Who's with me?
Exactly.
I do like that Cogdis room. You're so bad, we've got to put you in another room. It's just go and sit in the corner.
If I remove people from the live debate, I tend to put them in Bible chat. Now, some people will find that funny. Some people will probably hate me for that. Get out of here, Fundy. Get to Bible chat. That stone silence is a lot of Christians thinking, you bastard, I hate you. But I'm not allowed to because I'm a good Christian. So I'm not going to say anything.
Actually, I thought you were showing them mercy by having them hear God's word.
No, just do it because I know that they'll really not like being put in a Bible conversation when 99% of them are atheist.
Well, they could evolve.
Evolve, eh? What's that?
But I'm surprised none of you got my excellent pun. I guess we'll have to wait for the re-air.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it. Oh, Adam's presenting. Let's have a little look.
It's just, I still do a little bit of Twitter every now and again. And this popped up. I just thought it was quite... I've got my reply afterwards, but I thought I'd just... Do you want me to read it, Nathan?
Yes, please.
On many flights, they give away leveling devices to all passengers for free so that everyone will be able to observe the dip of the horizon. And as a nice side effect, to quench our thirst. And it demonstrates there. Look. Using a bottled water they usually give away on a flight, we can easily observe that the horizon does not rise to eye level and confirm that the Earth is a sphere. And this is from a Flat Earth debunking Flat Earth misconceptions.
Okay.
So
I presume you're going to pull that. Hold on, go back.
I'd like to make a comment about that too at some point.
There's a few issues here. Just didn't know if you were going to... You're obviously not, because you've moved straight on. So let's pull them apart then. So they're referencing this water level with its physicality. So straight away, they're asserting that the water bottle and its water content gives you a level surface. Is that what this assertion is claiming, first and foremost?
I think that's the first point, yeah.
Okay, so they're using something that has a naturally level tendency to show that there is a dip to a non-physical, not actual location. Is that my reading of this correct in the second instance?
That would appear what they're doing. They're reifying the horizon to be the leading edge of a sphere.
So they're saying our reified physical geometric sphere edge is represented by this little mark here. And they're going to put it below the yellowy orange bit and on the white bit because why not? That's where they've decided the physical sphere edge is, right? Not the yellow bit, the white bit. Correct?
Yep.
Okay, because it's physical and boats fall over it on a globe, right? No, the horizon is not a physical location by definition. It is apparent. Apparent meaning not actual. Appearing, but not actually. Not physical. Not a tangent point. Not capable of having a dip measurement giving you a physical sphere edge measurement to show that, what? The straw man argument that the horizon rises to eye level, something we do not argue here. Because what? The non-physical, apparent location in the distance where things converge doesn't rise to eye level. Oh, wow. Well, that's amazing. Any more on this, Adam? Or is that it?
Only my response. So my response was more so they want a reification of the horizon into the leading edge of a sphere. So let them have it. But it was a great opportunity to put hashtag Black Swan in. So
Adam, can you put that picture back up, Adam?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, in navigation, the dip is height of eye to sea level. That's all dip is. That's the only thing you do. And they even have a table of how much you got to minus if you say you're 9 feet above the ocean in your sailboat. So how they want to say dip of the horizon here, this is not what actual dip correction is for navigation. So other than what Nathan already said, water finds its level and the ocean is water. I think they just died a double death.
Well, and one other thing too, I mean, obviously they're looking right at the sun, it would seem, or the sunset, and how much of that is actually obscuring, let's say if it was a flat plane, that sunset or that would actually obscure how far you could actually truly see. So it definitely is an apparent position. But it's not the true position, because how do you know the true position? You've got to know the true position to be able to. Which I know is what you guys are saying. That's the observation I'm making because of the get at sunset.
Correct. It doesn't have a true position,
point, isn't it? It's just
it
a
never has
vanishing point. He gets out his binoculars. Suddenly, we're on a bigger ball.
Yeah, it would change based on the aperture of the equipment that you're using to view it, from eye through to larger aperture devices like telescopes. You can move the physical position of the horizon. It hasn't got a physical position. It's not actual location. It's non-physical. So yeah, Paul, exactly. What are you going to do? Claim that the dip angle to the physical edge of a sphere is what's being depicted in this image? Well, no, it's a non-physical location that changes with various different things. The weather, the aperture of the camera you're using, how high you are. But unfortunately, they're debunking a straw man. They're saying because, presumably from a narrative like Flat Earth Society, it's asserted that the horizon should rise with eye level. Well, who cares? That's a straw man being debunked. Because it's not a physical location, that's our argument.
Well, they got more problems now that I'm thinking about it. In the ocean, the sextant is set at 0 to the water line. And if you're 10 feet above it, you got to go back down to that 0. So that's the dip minusing. Once you do that, your perpendicular, your vertical is at 90 all the time. That's your zenith. So they don't take measurements with a sextant below 15 degrees to the horizon because of stuff in the air, refraction, all kinds of water molecules. So when you're going to sight a star for navigation, they say, whatever you do, don't go below 15 degrees. Just go somewhere higher. Obviously, at 90 degrees straight above you, there is no refraction.
Yeah, meanwhile, they say the horizon itself can be measured and calculated, while definitely don't get anywhere near to it if you're looking at a star to actually navigate anywhere because it'll throw you right off. But the horizon itself we can reify into a physical sphere edge and claim its tangent point nature to measure an R value of a presupposed spherical Earth, only to later move the horizon with the R value that was derived from its physical location to justify why it's not in its physical location if we were on a sphere.
Yeah.
What a tangled web they weave.
Yeah, that checks out.
I would say it's worse than that. Good morning, by the way, but 15 degrees usually you can't even see stars.
Morning, Rakia. When you say you can't see stars at 15 degrees above the horizon, I don't know if I'd agree with that. I've seen things setting.
I said, sometimes the atmospheric conditions, 15 degrees, especially when you're over out in the ocean, there's no stars below that.
Fair enough.
Crazy.
Fair
it's
enough.
like a cutoff line.
Yeah, depending on conditions. Yes, that's typically the case. You're right. Even from my vantage point here, I'm fairly high up in an apartment.
That's proving our point.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
That depending on the conditions, things are going to be obstructed more or even hidden.
And the horizon itself is going to be in varying positions depending on where you're viewing it from, what you're viewing it with, what the weather is like on the day, and a whole bunch of other factors.
Yep, exactly.
It's kind of weird. At one point, Just Phil did say that, well, there could be a few reasons why the horizon moves. We're like, oh, really? Obviously, it's not going to be Earth curve, then, is it?
There's a few reasons this physical rock can move. No, your physical obstruction that boats are going over is supposed to be physical and not moving. So no, there shouldn't be any reason why it should move.
They have the brightest light in the sky, the sun, actually hidden behind a Earth curve and refracted up where you see it plain as day. And then laugh at us when we say that lights are being hidden by, the atmosphere or whatever. They actually have it in their model in a bigger way. Every day, sunset.
Yeah, yet another of a list of double-speak contradictions that they have when they're claiming their physicality. Likewise, they have actual sizes used on the ground and angular sizes used in the sky.
Except, of course, those days that the sun sets but doesn't go beneath the horizon, just fades out.
Yeah, in the dry air, right? Due to the conditions, dry air, usually.
Dry air.
They're saying the sun, another
But is that ever possible? If the direct reasoning behind the sunsets is the spinning of this ball that we're all on, how is it ever possible that it could just fade out into the distance without even touching the horizon?
It could.
Right. Because the apparent horizon you see at that point with your eyes it's apparent. It's much closer by, but the light apparition of the sun is actually hiding behind the flat geometrical horizon, which is basically at infinite, which is further away, and then just looks like, oh wait, it's going down above the horizon. That's very weird, isn't it? How that looks.
It's very.
But I'm talking about when it's not even going down.
It's
just
fading
away into the distance.
Oh, right, into the copyright sign.
Hold
Yes.
on, you two, you both. This conversation.
Copyright God.
This conversation's interrupting Rakia's point, though. So thank you. You're right.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all right. That's just when they go to number 9, you don't understand. Standard practice.
Number 9.
Yeah, number 9. It's right after number 8.
Nathan, you had a good one on Coriolis with the sun under the clouds. You want to go over that?
Oh, right. You mean, I can't remember who it was now. I think it was Ed disclaiming
irrelevant.
That it's irrelevant. The turn of the Earth underneath causing the sun to move in their model isn't Coriolis and has nothing to do with Coriolis. So therefore, sun movement, Earth turn, well, totally irrelevant of one another, according to Ed. When it was pointed out that that's a Coriolis claim, that would be Earth turning underneath the sun at 15 degrees an hour to cause its apparent movement. So the sun isn't actually moving. In your model of a globe Earth, the sun doesn't move. It's the Earth turning that causes it to seem to move. Like bullets are seeming to drift because it's claimed Earth turns underneath them. And footballs go through goals because it's claimed Earth's turning underneath them at 15 degrees an hour. Second reference frame, Coriolis drift. But because these idiots haven't actually connected the dots yet, that their moving sun through the sky is actually a Coriolis claim, they deny it when it's pointed out to them. Bit like Dan. Oh, we've destroyed your reference frames. What, those ones that claim to prove the sun's moving because we turn underneath it at 15 degrees an hour? Oh, right. They're ruined, are they? Epic. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Then you hear, well, it's lockstep.
Yeah, then we reply...
No Coriolis then.
Exactly, Chocolate. No drift then, no Coriolis effect then. Earth not turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour then. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Snacks are in the back, bathrooms on the left, DJ's on the way.
Sounds like a concession to me.
What, he's going to add something every time? Now
Yes.
there's a DJ there? Who's
Yes,
after that?
I added the
stripper?
DJ on the way.
Oh, okay.
All right.
The
The longer
DJ.
this goes, the
Can
more
I
I'm going
learn
to
that
add
in
to
the
it.
DM?
So just prepare yourself.
Say again, Dave?
I can't wait for that flat
What's
earth
a
debate with
DJ?
the two flat earthers.
Say again, Dave?
What's a DJ? Can I get DM what a DJ is?
Disc jockey.
Disc jockey, Dave.
You so old, man.
Can I book some wine in time for this event?
Yeah, sure.
You can't
It's a
make
party,
wine
man.
in a conceptual medium. Hello?
Not in time, as in within the conceptual, but just correct arrival point.
I got nothing. I got no comeback.
I don't like to get the wine order mixed up, Nathan, and the unnecessary clarification.
Just say it's you're arriving at our agreed upon convention.
Maybe, Adam, you can give Nathan a second chance.
Oh, my.
Jeez.
Dire. You did so well earlier, too.
Not me, go.
You're not going to top flu on this episode.
No, but that other one was good too, but you all missed it.
What was the one we missed?
The one when I said, so Chocolate, Adam took his arms and legs, and then he goes, yeah, his arms, legs, and an eye. And I go, well, did any baller have his back?
Oh, missed that. Yeah, it's top quality. Worth reiterating. Glad I asked.
I heard it, but it wasn't funny.
I thought it was funny.
Chocolate was rumpusing.
In spite of that, I'll be happy today.
In spite of that, jeez.
They're just
They're not
Sorry,
made to
buddy.
be-
I can't stomach your comedy right now.
They're not made to be funny. They're made to be clever, QE. Clever.
Shut up,
Right,
Neil.
that's why it's so difficult to detect.
Don't talk to Neil like that. Outrageous.
I'm on mute.
I'm on mute.
So going back
I
to
can't believe
Because it's not that
stuff's
clever.
still hanging around, man. On mute.
going back to Phil Bell for a minute. So
It's very
We keep it alive, man. We keep it alive.
did you get
very
any
eerie
progress?
when someone's on mute.
Did you get any progress with Phil Bell? Did you get any decent concessions out of him?
He did concede a couple times on stuff
Not really.
from what people mentioned it.
Can you remember what? Probably not.
I
Well,
can't.
I did mention before he did concede. Remember, you gave him the example of the car and putting the air around the rim. And he did concede that at surface level, the gas would disperse. His little gravity nonsense isn't keeping gas together without containment.
Oh, my big old tire example.
Big old tire. I go to big old tire. I love that shit, man. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Was a bit of hillbilly
And
coming out.
then
in
he
you.
tried his hand at, what was it, sulfur hexafluoride?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's new. How did that go?
That.
So gas go down, go boom boom. How did that go?
Not good for him.
Not at all.
It did go down poorly. Yeah.
That was good.
Okay, so
It was just waffling, wasn't he? It was putting his, because he wasn't the standard. He weren't going to float a boat on it, was he? It was just, I know another poor example which he had to bring in the container. Pour it
He
out.
really bit the dust with the elastic, non-elastic collisions and the net loss of energy. He really went down. As soon as he said that, it was over.
Oh, what, the gas particle energy goes down to zero when it reaches the troposphere?
Yeah. No, he didn't say that, but he more or less intimated that the gases lose their energy. So I had to break it down for him. Then
was
provide
like-
citation.
John said, did you ever hear the thermosphere?
Yeah.
Thermo what now? Thermo
What? A ball of heat?
Ball of heat?
Thermosphere.
A ball of heat.
That's not begging the question though, right?
No, of course. Why would it be?
Well, he's trying to prove a sphere, and this sphere concept is part of his argument in terms of this thermo. What did you call it, Arwen? Heat circle.
No, a ball of heat.
The heat ball that surrounds the cool ball.
The heat ball that surrounds the not automatically assumed to be a sphere, but the air surrounding it is definitely nothing to do with the assumption that we're trying to prove here. It's just spherical air, not that air behaves like that.
Listen, it's the heat ball that surrounds the cool ball that surrounds the water ball that surrounds the fireball.
Lava ball. Oh, wait,
Wow.
iron ball. Yeah.
Well, leave it to a flat earther to apply pressure to a baller.
Pressure, you say? What
Yeah,
is pressure?
Your questions applied so much pressure to them.
It's hard to remember all the stupid stuff he said. Hopefully, Helio got that clipped out. It went on for a while.
Did he appeal to technology for science too?
I can't remember.
Because those are the best
He
moments.
did say something like eyeglasses prove that we live on a ball, so no. But he consistently appeals to his satellites because he's a satellite guy.
I didn't hear too much about that. I heard it a couple times, but it really didn't take root.
Well, he brought it up first with Himawari. Remember, he presented the Himawari photograph, he called it. And yeah, I mean that was basically it with the satellites.
Was that? I don't think I was there. Did he say photograph? Somebody call him on it.
Yeah, Mickey
Okay.
got him on it.
Who called him on it?
He conceded that chocolate. We did concede that it was just packets of data.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because Mickey held him to task on that.
All right.
It's not like you're developing film. You got data that you're sending that's being received on the ground, and obviously that's data. It's not a photograph, so he conceded that.
someone pad that out for me. What, you're saying that the download or downlinks, as they call them, are just packets of data as opposed to optical imagery, and therefore you're saying, well, that doesn't confirm that the transceiver or whatever it is they're using in the claimed sky vacuum is real. Was that the argument?
Yeah, more or less. Pretty much that it's not actual photographs that we're getting from the Himawari, which is already a problem. Where that thing
There's
is
a lot of
supposed to
that
be.
going around with the new people saying that, okay, they ask them, what's your best proof? And they say photographs from space. Well, they don't have any photographs. So if you're newbie out there, you have no photographs. Photographs. You have images. You have 0 photographs. Just to let you know.
Well, one of the things I was going to try to bring up to him, have you guys heard of the idea of chain of custody? QE may have
Yes.
understood it.
Yeah.
What is chain of custody, QE? You might be better to explain it than I do.
Chain of custody, you have to mark down whoever has the material or information. You have to, there's a log. You have to, and it follows that thing, and you put your signature and your stamp on it. And when it changes hands, that next person signs off on it and goes along with the object.
Right. And in a way, I was going to ask about the chain of custody of that photo. So can you trace through the chain of custody all the way back to its origin? Or are you trusting everything from that this came from the source that they say it was? You know, I was going to kind of bring that up to him and say, have you verified that this actually came from the location of the thing that you're saying? And what's your chain of custody along that route? You know, and I was going to do that, but it never got brought up last night.
Yeah, but it wasn't a photo to begin with.
Image.
I know that would have discovered. Well, that would have discovered that. That's the point. It would have revealed that. You'd have seen that it did not come from a photograph from a camera. It would have came from data, you know, not from a photograph.
Yeah, Himawari 8. Everything that he was bringing up was 2015. His best proof was boats going over the horizon. I mean, come on.
Back to the no
Indio
images.
smashed in 5 minutes.
Just back to just for a second. There is one claimed image. We're just going to cover why it isn't a photograph. Again, even though it's claimed to be a photograph of Earth from space from Apollo 11. Is that right? Or is it Apollo 8? Either way, there's one claimed to be photograph of Earth from space. But there's one glaring problem with that. Anybody? About space itself, yeah. Talking about the blue marble, the original blue marble, taken on the way to the moon.
Yeah. The one they took the picture of the model with? Yes.
Yes, correct. But what's the problem with the claim that it's been taken from high altitude, claimed to be
It's in a
space?
second law of thermodynamics violation.
Yeah, everything is, I was just concentrating on the photographs just for the newbies, but yes, you're right.
The reason that's not a photograph is because it's claimed to be taken from a fake place, akin to Narnia. So outer space itself, the place that they claim to have taken the photograph from, doesn't exist. You can't have gas pressure without a container. If that region was a sky vacuum, then the gas we breathe would be filling it, and we'd all be dead. So the place they claim to have taken the picture from is fake. Ergo, automatically, the picture itself isn't a picture. Just, again, for any newbies that go, oh, well, this guy's claiming he's got a picture. Here's a video roll of them taking the picture out of a circular window.
And then you have the, what is it? The funny thing happened to the way to the moon, where it showed them faking a picture inside a window of the capsule. But how can you even trust the photo that they so-called picked if they show that they can fake even inside that same old capsule? So how can you even trust that, right?
Yeah, you can't trust Bart Sobral's imagery. All of the stuff is faked. So his claim to be images from what he's saying is high altitude filmed through a window, well, ipso facto, those are also fake images used to fake a travel through a fake place. So you can't trust them either. They're not giving you anything.
The chain of custody's fake.
Yep.
Well, don't ask.
That's okay. It's okay, baltards, because one of your pseudoscience priests Sabine Hassenpfeffer, theoretical physicist, says that you don't have to worry about that, right? When you don't have an argument or your arguments get a mud hole stomped in them, then bitch slap, there's no shame because you can justly hand wave dismiss flat earthers and their arguments because you have laptops, airplanes, and pairs of eyeglasses demonstrating that science and society works.
She's a lovely looking fella.
So, go ahead.
I said she's a lovely looking fella.
Yep. It's brilliant. It's basically saying, okay, the Earth being a ball is natural law because the entire structure of reality itself would be impossible if the Earth was not a ball.
I think, QE, you would correct her by saying science in society does work, but pseudoscience doesn't.
I wouldn't correct her. I'd just let her speak.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Google panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out my GoFundMe campaign. And I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!